Guys, I have a question for you. What does Legolas of the Woodland Row, Ned Stark of Winterfell, William Stryker, Alistair Mad-Eye Moody, the Auror, and Tyler Durden of Fight Club, and Corday of Attack of the Clones, what do they have in common? I'll tell you. Their actors all appeared in this movie in 2004 that we're covering today. Troy, yes, Troy, based on Homer's Iliad. We are covering the 2004 Troy film. I am one-fourth of your hosts, the very boring and very obnoxious Dakota. And I am joined, as always, with...
Anthony, and you actually also forgot one more person. You forgot Bruce Banner, you know? Honestly,
Banner,
had Bruce Banner just hulked out, would have ended that war.
I know. I completely forgot.
Honestly, had he hulked out, that war would have been wrapped up, you know, that first day. But yes, we are covering Troy, and joining us as always is...
Rich, and I can't believe the disrespect put on Mormont's name. All right, the commander at the wall. All right, he's also in it, so it's unbelievable. But I'm very excited to discuss this star-studded event. But we can't do it alone, and we are also joined by.
Hi, I'm Jen.
That's Jen. That's just our local Jen, guys. Don't worry.
I'm just here sometimes.
She's here for moral support. Sometimes it's hard to record. That's why Jen comes around. Yeah, so we're covering Troy 2004, starring Matt Damon as...
as Odysseus?
I'm just thinking about white dudes. We're really excited to talk about Troy. And I think part of it is because the Odyssey is coming. Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. I think we're just... kind of subconsciously, I think everyone has that in their like subconscious currently, and I think a lot of people are actually like going back to this movie just to kind of re-up ourselves on a little bit of the history, even though this kind of skirts a little bit of what actually happens in the books and the actual historical accounts. I mean, actual historical accounts. Who knows? But yeah, I was like pretty surprised about this one because this is actually the first time I had ever seen this film. I had never watched Troy before. I don't think I've ever sat down to watch it. So this was fun. But before we jump into any of that, what have we been up to? And it's only been a couple days because we recorded earlier this week. But what have we been up to, guys? Let's start with Jen before you shove that ice cream in your mouth. What you been up to?
I've been up to eating ice cream that you're holding me back from because I usually go last in this. What have I been up to? I've been playing a lot of games on my phone. I've been playing this Arrows game. I've been playing a game with Yarn. I've been rewatching Sopranos and Gilmore Girls. I like to alternate. Depending on my mood.
All right, nice.
So like if I'm feeling just a little bit more mellow, I put on Gilmore Girls. If I'm feeling a little bit more humorous, I put on Sopranos. Just depending, on the vibes. And fun fact, those two shows kind of exist in each other's worlds. So like there's episodes of Gilmore Girls where they reference Sopranos and talk about the show. And there's episodes, I think it's only one episode of Sopranos where I believe Junior is watching Gilmore Girls.
That's bizarre. That's actually so weird to think about.
Yeah, they exist in each other's worlds. It's like they're watching each other's TV shows, really. And I'm watching them both.
I love that for you. Rich, what have you been up to, buddy?
Seismic shifts in my life. I don't know if we have enough time to discuss them all tonight, but actually I'm rewatching Sopranos as well. I'm in the second season, so I usually, around this time, after around testing, I get into a Sopranos rewatch, so I'm doing that. I also caught the first episode of Spider-Man Noir on Amazon.
Did that come out?
Yeah, the full season dropped. They did it, if today is Thursday, I want to say they may have dropped it Tuesday or something like that. So they dropped the entire series.
Dang, they snuck that one on us because I didn't even know. Like, I knew it was coming out, but I didn't realize that it had come out already.
I've been like away from like the superhero sphere of like comic book movie Twitter for a while, so I can understand why I didn't hear about this. But hearing that a whole show has come out and I haven't actually seen anyone talk about it online is a little bit crazy. But I'm curious now because it actually does look really good.
I don't think people are expecting it. I
Yeah.
don't think it was expected to be dropped like this. It seems like my Twitter is pretty heavy on that stuff, and I almost caught it by accident. Like it was. I think I just saw somebody say like, "Wow, I can't believe they dropped the whole season." So I was like, "Wait, it's out already? The entire thing?" So I watched the first episode. I mean, I think it looks really. It's the first episode, so it's tough to judge, but it looks great. And Nick Cage does the. I mean, I think he's Spider-Man Noir. Like, I buy it.
Meanwhile, Avatar Studios and their Legend of Aang movie leaks the entire thing in full 1080p like Blu-ray quality, but still no trailer. Still no official trailer for that film that comes out later this year. I'm gonna move past that. What have I been up to? I've started book 5 of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I'm like full tilt into this. It's one of those things like that's always been in my periphery, and I've talked about this a little bit over the past couple episodes, but it's always been in my periphery like ever since COVID that this was a thing. But I don't know if it's just like it's blowing up right now and I just decided to give it a shot, or if I started like looking up this content and then I'm just receiving a bunch of content about this book. I don't know what's happening, but like all over my feed, especially on like TikTok and stuff, it's all Dungeon Crawler Carl themed. But anyway, it's a really good series.
I heard that there's like a really bad timelining in the series, though.
Oh, did you hear that? Yeah. I see. Well, I did mention on Twitter that earlier in the week I had released a rant-like video about Book 4 because the timeline does break pretty significantly. So, long story short, if you like, I'm mapping the events day by day. So if it starts on January 1st and ends on January 3rd or whatever, like that's 3 days, or like these events occur on a couple days. But then the book tells you, actually, it's been 5 days since this event. I start to question myself. I start to question my sanity. And I made a video about like this rant because it doesn't make any sense. And going into book 5, I mean, I've been doing like my timeline notes. I do timeline notes on pretty much everything. I didn't do it on Troy for some reason, but I do timeline notes on pretty much everything. I have a note for sheep detectives, guys. Anyway, what was I saying? In book 5, a similar thing happened, but like the book is even more specific about time frame. So like we have 30 hours between this event and this event. We have 45 hours between this event and this event. We have 60 hours. And there's a bunch of those overlapping time scales that need to occur before certain events. But then if the book tells me later, actually, instead of 3 days, it's 6 days later, I have to question it. And I mocked up a little timeline. I brought it up to TikTok. I said, guys, you got mad at me the other day for defiling your sacred texts, and now I'm here with receipts. This is what's wrong. And yeah, so I'm waiting for the responses. I'm curious to see how people react to actual proof that there's like an actual mistake in the series. I'm not saying that like I dislike the series because of this. It was something that aggravated me in the moment, but I do love these books. So anyway.
That's like Yoda burning down the hut with the sacred Jedi texts, man.
The sacred texts!
Was that canon?
That's how I read your tweet when I read sacred texts.
But otherwise, not too much in the past couple days outside of Troy, and I started watching Invincible. I don't know why I never jumped into it before, but great series. I'm pretty early on, just a couple episodes into season 1. I had read the comics. It's kind of like The Boys. I read The Boys. I read Invincible. I never watched those shows. So that's where we're at now. Anyway, guys, shall we talk about Matt Damon's movie?
Oh,
wait, but we didn't ask.
Ant, what have you been up to?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Honestly, like not much.
He said we're good, guys. Let's jump ahead.
Yeah, I've watched Invincible also. It's crazy. It's good. It's brutal for sure, but it is a fun watch. Yeah, it's only been 3 days since we last recorded, so nothing really big has been going on. Just found the time to watch this movie. I forgot like how long this movie was, and it's not that it like drags on. It's just like I don't know. It's sometimes it's tough to like sit down and watch a movie like when you're at the house, but like when you're in a theater, it's easy because you can lock in just the movie. So
yeah,
it's definitely it's definitely tougher like the older you get, and I know for you guys it's definitely tougher, especially probably for Jen when it comes to like sitting and watching a long movie. So, but
yeah, we broke this up into 2 parts.
I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. I actually watched it all today.
During Sheep Detectives, I was actually in a lot of pain. I was like wildly uncomfortable.
Oof.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm pregnant, by the way, for the listeners who don't know.
Speaking of Troy,
I mean, I think it's obvious to everybody listening.
Let's hop into it.
Yeah, so this guy, Achilles, Brad Pitt.
You know what's
Savage
crazy?
right out of the gate.
He was like 40 during that film, but he looks like way younger.
He's 40?
He is 40 in that movie, dude. He looks like he's like 30.
I mean, that's what I looked like 3 years ago. So.
That's true, actually.
That's just what happens when you turn 40. Just watch. When you guys turn 40, it's like this magic year for men. You're just
well, Rich, you look
best shape
50.
of your life. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Rich like literally can't handle criticism like that, Anthony. I'm gonna be hearing about this tomorrow.
It's
Rich is gonna be like, so when Anthony said that, do you
Rich.
think
By the way,
he
our
was joking,
sponsor this
or-
week is, of course, Juice Force Voodoo Ranger.
Well, they say IPA does that to you. It ages you up.
When somebody gives you a bad comment, like we get on the show sometimes, I know you guys won't leave us one, but I just reach for a Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA and drink it away. Unofficial sponsor.
Yeah, I'm glad you like that drink. I'm drinking a Blue Moon. Not the same beer at all, but good with juice. And you know what else has a lot of juice? This film. A lot of juice spurting out of random gashes in people's bodies, and it gets everywhere. You know, the blood, it gets everywhere. Anyway, guys, juice. Please be sure to give us a 5-star juicy review whenever you get the opportunity. Specifically now, pause this recording right now and review this podcast 5 stars and put the word juice in there somewhere. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows what'll happen?
Who knows what'll happen?
Anything could happen. We have no idea.
Back.
We're also curious.
Back to the podcast. This guy Achilles wants people to remember his name. That's his like number one life goal, and it's kind of sad, buddy.
Yeah, it is a weird life goal.
Just enjoy the present.
So this was your first time actually watching this movie, Dakota?
I'm thinking about it. It's one of those movies that was always around, you know? But I definitely did not ever like sit down to watch it. Yeah, I think I might have been, I don't know, because I loved Gladiator when I was a kid. And that's probably even more mature than this one. But for some reason, yeah, this never caught my attention. Yeah, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, though. Throughout the movie, so I knew that this movie was never like reviewed well. You know, I knew that this, back in the day, back in 2004, this did not play well for critics. In the early 2000s and like the 2000s in general, sincerity was not... In the 2000s, like, I think the reason this movie did poorly is because it plays itself so serious. It plays itself so sincere. But if you really think about like the movies, specifically the action movies and the drama movies that made it big in this time period, they all had a little quippiness to it. They all had a lot of jokes interlaced with their action. And this doesn't have that at all. So I have a feeling this probably felt old-timey to a lot of viewers back in the day. And the dogs next door are barking like crazy, so I apologize for that. But I would assume that that's the primary reason that this movie just didn't play well for critics at the time, is just that they wanted something different. But had this movie come out today, I feel like it would have done a lot better. A lot of what you see in this movie is is practical. The sacking of Troy, like all of those scenes with there's like a whole bunch of fires in the background, like fires are blowing up doors, people are like falling off of facades, and you know, people are like screaming on staircases. That's all legit. That's all real. There's no CGI there. And that really impressed me. There's actually a really strong adherence to practical effects in this movie in an age where, you know, this is shortly after Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy.
CGI was on the up and up.
CGI was on the up and up. You know, they could have shot this digitally. You know, Lord of the Rings was filmed on film, and so was this. This was filmed on film, and I think that is part of the film's charm, actually, because it feels like it could have been made in the 60s. It feels like it could have been a much older film than something that's just 20 years old at this point. And Jen's bouncing on her little bouncy ball next to me. She looks like she's partying. It's a little distracting.
Sorry.
What did you guys think of this movie? I've kind of given my 2 cents. What I will say is I was occasionally bored. I think it was overly long, but I really appreciated the movie for what it was. And I think the sincerity is actually nice now that we've lived in 20 years of like quippy action movies.
But I do think there were some like lines that were kind of funny.
Like what?
Like the line where Achilles is talking to Hector for the first time, and Hector's like, think of like how many men's wives will be missing them. And then Achilles is like, maybe you could send your brother to comfort them. I heard he's good at comforting other men's wives. Like that line's really funny, but for some reason Brad Pitt, I feel like they really toxed up his forehead. They gave him a bunch of Botox or something. Like his facial range, like his facial expression range isn't what it is in some of his other films, at least in my opinion. And he just delivered it like super deadpan and straight. But I felt like that genuinely could have been kind of delivered a little bit more humorously. And if you've seen other Brad Pitt films, you know that he's capable
my favorite
of
line.
more.
My favorite line in this movie has got to be in the very beginning when a kid helps him wake up for a battle. And the kid goes, I could never do what you're doing. And he goes, that's why nobody's going to remember you. Like, this kid helped you out. Dude! Like, and
Was that necessary?
And the kid just, like, looks at him like, yeah, I guess not. Oh, I love that.
That kind of reminded me of, like, when Darth Maul just hits Anakin with his, like...
Or he tries
to just hit Anakin, like, for no reason. He just sees this kid walking and is like, I'm gonna hit him.
Anthony, I feel like we keep cutting you off. What are you trying to say?
So for me, I mean, I enjoy this film. I like, you know, the insanity of Greek mythology. I mean, the fact that, like, they like people back in the day genuinely believed that these gods and these myths like existed, but like it's so entertaining, and actually like the whole bit with like the gods and stuff is actually tapered off in the Iliad and the Odyssey. They're actually like existent within the world. The whole thing between Paris and Helen is like stoked by Aphrodite. So. Mm-hmm. You know, so really, like you get, you know, you get some of that's missing, like the bit of the gods, but I think that it kind of grounds the story in a way, and which it's like an interesting take, right? I feel like the gist of the reason why the Trojan War happened, like the reason why it happened, it was pretty much intact, right? Because you know, Helen was, you know, whether it was against her will or she did it willingly, she was taken from Sparta and brought to Troy. And the whole, like, you know, Trojan Horse bit, that's obviously in the story. If they didn't do that, then they would have been like missing something huge.
Yeah, that's true.
Literally.
Rich, thoughts on this movie? Have you seen this movie before, Rich?
Yeah, so I saw it at very least once in the theaters, and I probably rewatched it 4 or 5 times while it was like on TV somewhere. You know, I, like Anthony, I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology and stuff like that, so this was kind of right up my alley. You know, I didn't care at the time that it was different than other movies and that it wasn't funny. I didn't expect it to be funny. I expected it to be, you know, I knew the story, so I didn't expect any humor. I expected it to be awesome movie. I mean, William Stryker is fantastic as like he's just the best villain almost ever. Like he's really just so great at being pedantic. I love the scene where
you want him to die by the end of this.
Yeah, you know, and when they win when he has the scene where like they win the beach battle or something, and he's like accepting gifts, and he's like, you will be the first to walk in the city with me. And he's like, you will be the first to dine in the gardens of Troy. And I'm just like, you know, he's just like coming up with an area, you know, and then like dropping it that the guy's going to be included. But it was just so masterful, you know. And then even when he's asking like if there was any gold recovered from the or you sacked the temple of Apollo, and he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'll share all the gold you want, Achilles says. And he's like, oh, don't worry, I already got it. And then he pulls out the girl. He's just so evil. The movie does such a great job of, if you don't know anything about Greek mythology, I think that like Achilles has a character arc, Paris has a character arc, Helen has a character arc, there's so much development and growth that I forgive the 3 hours.
So
I think in sadly in the actual story, Agamemnon, I cannot say his name.
Agamemnon.
Yes.
Agamemnon.
He actually survives the war, but then his wife kills him.
Get it, sis.
Yeah, his wife and her boyfriend, right? Like, imagine, like, you come home, get cucked, and then they kill you.
He had it coming, though.
That would suck.
Did she know he was coming home, or did he, like, surprise get there early? Because then that's his fault.
He comes home just like, Agamemnon!
Yeah, it was an Et tu, Brute moment,
Dang. Gotta hate those moments.
I think that you could have an adaptation, that isn't exactly true to the source, especially with a source that's like much older. I remember I had a professor for US history in college that really hated the Hamilton play because he was like, there's so many inaccuracies, and it paints Alexander Hamilton as this person who was kind of there for more the working class, but, Alexander Hamilton didn't want to give them the right to vote. And his, like, the first day of the class, he just went on and on and on about it. And I just sat there because the only reason why I had signed up for that class was because I liked Hamilton. And I was like, oh, I'm going to learn more about, like, the characters in Hamilton. And it's kind of like your gateway drug. Like, I ended up learning the truth anyway. Like, I learned the source material later, but it was kind of like you got a little taste and you got into it. When I was a kid, I think this movie got me like really into like Greek mythology and stuff like that. And then after that, I started buying a bunch of books and getting really into, like, I had a bunch of books about like Troy. I had read a whole series on that. It was like a historical fiction series. And I learned, what actually happened later, but it's okay,
Sometimes
it doesn't have to be perfect.
Sometimes you need to hear the story of George Washington cutting down his father's cherry tree just to get excited about history, Yeah. It might not be true, might not have happened, but gosh darn it.
You get a little sampling, you get a little taste, and then you come back for more. Here, they give us a little taste. They give us a bunch of really ripped dudes in crop tops with eyeliner, braids in their hair, and I was like, man, I really need to learn more about this.
Now, Anthony mentioned a good point that they kind of stray away from the more mythological aspects of the story. But it's kind of interesting because they straddle the line on that, because they show his mother is a god, or they kind of hint at it, like she has visions that, like, he's going to die here if he goes to this location. But that's pretty much the only real, I guess, like, mythological aspect to this movie outside of, we don't really know if the story actually
But the priest said that the horse was a gift from the gods.
But we don't see the gods, like...
The only, like, right call that Paris makes in the entire movie is he's just like, burn it.
Yeah,
That's the only good call.
For real.
The entire film long.
The whole movie was his fault.
Hate Paris.
The whole movie was his fault. The whole Trojan War was his fault. But actually, kind of going back a little bit to what you said, that this movie gave you that taste of like Greek mythology, and I actually, what got me into Greek mythology was actually similar to this movie, but I read like the condensed like kids version of the Odyssey. It was called The Adventures of Ulysses, and so I got to, obviously it's not like the Iliad and the Odyssey. It's like the really just the important parts of the war, and then Odysseus's 10-year his 10-year journey back home, which is actually insane. He was actually gone for 20 years. Like this Trojan War was like 10 years. You imagine, like they were like poking at this city for 10 years. Like this, and they condensed it down to I think what, like maybe a couple of weeks in the movie. But can you imagine they did this for 10 years, like fighting this war? They're like just there for 10 years fighting. That's insane. And then Odysseus.
The ending makes way more sense when you think of it as like a 10-year long war, where it's like a plague got to them. They might have run out of like food and money and all of that, and then they might have left. But in this, it's just kind of like, see you in 12 days, and then they go to the beach and everybody's just gone and they buy it.
I just don't.
It makes it a lot dumber.
It's the hardest thing to swallow, right? I was sitting there and I was like, hold up, why they just left? Like, why would you? What are you doing? What are you talking about? You know, like there were thousands and thousands of people, like just hundreds of thousands of people. And then they're all gone, and there's this mysterious item, and you're like, this bodes well. Like, it just, the timeline, I would say, didn't make sense.
I think the story explains it a little bit better.
I feel like Priam's kids should have used like reverse psychology on him, because clearly he's like my mom, where if you give him a certain kind of advice, he's just going to go and do the opposite. So like Paris should have been like, this is a great gift, let's keep it. And then Priam would have been like, whoa, maybe we should burn it.
This son of mine, Paris, he has some terrible ideas.
It's like the one time Paris was right, nobody believed him. Speaking of, I really wish Cassandra had been in this. That's like the only character that I feel like...
I forget who the character is. Explain.
Isn't she the one... I probably should like fact check myself before I talk, but isn't she the one who like has prophecies and she tells everybody like exactly what's going to happen, but she's like cursed by the gods, where she has like the gift of being able to foretell the future, but nobody believes her? I'm going to fact check myself.
Yeah,
just
I
in
don't
case.
remember. It's been a minute since I've actually...
I just remember like when I read the books and stuff, I really liked her character because relatable, honestly.
Cassandra. But going back to like the fact that like, so after 12 days, you're a seafaring city. You have a wide view of the ocean from your doorstep. You didn't notice thousands of ships leaving your like your beach. You didn't hear them. If they were just gone, you know, like, oh, I guess they left. You wouldn't like look into the distance like, but when did they go? You know, like
you couldn't look at the horse and say, I've been on a boat before. That looks like boat stuff. Which is just the other part.
What I actually like that, you know, I like the set design in this movie is really good.
Yeah, it is.
The set design is an incredible strength of this movie. There's like a bunch of scenes where I was just like, whoa, that's a really cool idea. Like when they brought the tent, or they brought the ship ashore, and there was a series of tents on top of the ship for Agamemnon's like throne room. Sick. Such a cool idea. The idea of using like driftwood from broken ships for the horse, which makes sense. That's what they would have. You know, it's a beach. Sick. I love it. But also like the actual construction and execution of the horse. It's a really cool looking practical effect. You know, like it's not CGI. They made this wooden structure for this movie, and that is cool.
I like that the horse looks like believable. Like it's not like perfectly crafted. Like it looks rough, you know, like it's not some perfect looking horse. So, I did like that they used the broken ships as the building material. I noticed that too. And I was like, oh wow, that's something I didn't think of like last time. But yeah, that was a good, that was a cool detail.
I was right about Cassandra.
Okay.
She's Hector and Paris' sister. And apparently like she was actually the one who warned Priam not to open not to let the Trojan Horse in. So they kind of give Paris her role a little bit.
Well,
okay.
Because they needed someone to sleep with Achilles.
Paris?
No,
you're talking about Perseus.
Perseus, yeah. Like I think
I don't think Cassandra doesn't sleep.
No, I know she
Achilles.
doesn't. What I'm saying is like I think that they weren't going to put another female character in there. So like I think like that she kind of on the Troy side of female characters, like they kind of just chose one.
Did they ever call Sean Bean's character Odysseus?
No, I don't think they did.
They don't.
Because
They
I
don't
was, like,
actually
looking
name
for
him,
that.
right?
Yeah.
I don't.
Sean Bean?
Do they
Bean?
do they name him as Odysseus?
Yes.
Wait, when?
When was that?
I'm
the beginning?
pretty sure I heard Odysseus.
Okay, maybe I just missed it.
They were like, maybe after this, one of us will go on an Odyssey, and somebody else was like, what does that mean? Because they didn't have the word yet.
That's crazy.
It just means you're going. It means you're going on that guy's ship.
That's crazy that
See you
like
in 10 years, losers.
it's crazy they name a book. He named a book the Odyssey, and like the central character is Odysseus.
That would be like if Dakota wrote a book about like his journey to work, and he called it the Dakota.
The Dakotaiad.
The Dakotaiad.
And then he was just on the bus, and you won't believe what he did.
Wait, did you, when you were talking about the ships before, because I was like fact checking myself, did you mention when they were all rowing and the big guy just grabs someone and tosses him for no reason?
You gotta do that sometimes. You gotta motivate.
I loved the scenes where just random side characters got wrecked for no reason. Like Dakota mentioned one with like the little boy that verbally got assaulted by Achilles. And like when they're rowing in, there's like that huge guy that dies relatively early on. And he wants to start rowing, and instead of being like tapping the person on the shoulder and being like, hey, can I get in there? I want to row a little faster to keep up with Achilles. He just grabs the guy and tosses him.
He tosses him over his shoulder.
That's one of the people you're about to be fighting with in a couple of minutes, sir.
I turned over to Jen and I was like, how funny would it have been if this guy just like threw him over the boat and just like, keep rowing. You know, like that's how deeply he wanted to get to the beach. Oh man. Good
that
stuff.
would almost have made more sense, like, let's lighten the boat.
I guess that's a possibility. I thought the fight choreography was really strong. You know, there was a lot of cuts in there. It wasn't a lot of like, they didn't stay on the camera for long, but like the maneuvers made sense. Like they would interlock with like the shield placements. The spears would also kind of like move into the shield placements really nicely. The movements when they were battling, especially like the Hector and Achilles battle near the end, was really exciting to watch. Like you could tell they had a really good like movement and fight choreographer attached to the movie, which I appreciated.
Yeah, when I was a kid, that scene where they all like interlock their shields on the beach,
yeah.
I just thought that was, I remember being like mind blown. Like that is the coolest thing.
We should go to school like this, guys.
I was inspired.
Interlock our backpacks, bros. Yeah, good stuff.
One thing I wanted to talk about with this movie was, like you brought up the set design, which is fantastic. I was a huge fan of the costumes, hair, and makeup. Like the curly hair representation, I have curly hair. The curly hair representation was incredible in this film. At a time where you didn't see a lot of women rocking the curls in movies. If they were rocking the curls, it was always like a chaotic character that was a little bit like odd and different. This, it's like all the graceful royal women rocking curly hair. And they all had like those little baby curly bangs that I wanted to try, but I was too scared to because I knew I didn't know what to do with them. And the makeup for both the men and the women, incredible. Smoky eyes. As far as my eyes could see, everybody at this time in history mastered the smoky eye. Smudged to perfection. Concealers immaculate. It was great, honestly. Like when Hector's dying, Andromache's eye makeup is beautiful. She looked fantastic. Sure, her life was getting ruined, but my God, what an angel.
I thought Paris's, you mentioned it before I started watching it, and then I'm like, oh no. Like I just couldn't stop looking at everyone's eye makeup, which was very annoying, because that's something I definitely don't pay attention to, ever.
So if I hadn't said it, would you have like not realized that everybody was wearing eyeliner?
No, like it took me a while before like I realized that JD Vance was wearing eyeliner. Once like somebody had to point it out. I was like, oh. I was like, look at that. See, that's
it's
weird.
more mascara.
Yeah, I barely know the difference. But no, I did think like I agree that the sets were fantastic and the costuming was great. I didn't have any issues or like think there was any historical inaccuracies. I did like when Brad Pitt smelled bursitis's. I can't say her name. There's too many S's and I's. Yes, Perseus. When he smelled her hair and he said, "You must be royalty." And I just love that's to me like actually like a little like time period-y thing, like, like, hey, looks like you shower, you gotta be fancy.
You don't smell terrible, you must be royal.
Like Herbal Essence says, oh my goodness, your family must have a lot of money. Like, I don't know, is that Vidal Sassoon? Like, I just love the identification there. So I like that stuff. I mean, I thought he was, for me, his acting was a little, he was a little flat. I didn't love like his eventual winning over of, why do I have to keep saying her name? But anyway, you know what I'm talking about, the gal. That it's just like, you knew it was going to happen, but I didn't care for it. I didn't think it added to the movie at all. It didn't make his death more impactful, that he was doing the right thing, quote unquote. I didn't care for that.
I think it is weird though that like they made such a big deal about him mocking the gods, like specifically Apollo, but like at the end of the like original, isn't it like he just gets hit in the ankle? It's not like Paris shoots him a bunch of times. It's literally just in the ankle, and it wasn't kind of like Apollo like guided him to die. So like I thought it was weird that they kept bringing up his disrespect of the gods, but then he doesn't get the punishment in the end from the gods. But I guess like that might not have translated to the film as well. Like if he would have just got shot in the ankle and died, people would have been really confused.
Yeah, so I think they chose to go a much more sincere route. They wanted to do like a real-ish version of the story that didn't involve the Greek pantheon. If they were to do something more akin to Apollo guiding him to death, I think you would need the physical entities to be present, at least in the background of scenes, like watching over the battles or guiding these two characters to, make out or whatever, go off together.
Have you guys ever seen Hercules Legendary Journeys with Kevin Sorbo and Xena the Warrior Princess?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so Dakota has. Anthony, have you?
Wait for...
Like as a TV
have
show.
You ever seen Hercules or Xena?
I mean, maybe I like an episode or two.
Okay, all right. Let me tell you, friends. I was, whoo boy. That's what got me into Greek mythology, was that show. And I think that like what Dakota, like there's a level of camp, and they did have physical representations of the gods. Often like there was a very over the top Aphrodite, and then very like menacing Mars. What did I say? Mars, Ares, and it really worked. It was like, so I think though the thing is the gods are so caricature like that if you include them, it's hard to not include some kind of humor to balance them, to make them more acceptable.
I almost feel like they could have did something kind of like the Passion of the Christ, where like in the scene there's like that big like trial scene, and you just have like Satan kind of like moving around through.
Oh.
Isn't he like a baby at one point? It's like really creepy.
No, it's just like him holding his demons. Yeah.
Yeah, I just picture like that creepy baby face.
Yeah. But you're talking about in Passion of the Christ when like he's moving around the crowds and inciting them to, just blind hatred towards Jesus.
Yeah, and I feel like this movie they could have done stuff like that. Like you could have had, I don't know, even Paris and Helen's whole like relationship, just they seem so selfish and stupid in this movie, but if at the beginning you had some kind of like silhouetted feminine figure like moving around.
Yeah, it could have played out
like,
more like a Shakespeare story, like a Shakespeare tragedy sort of thing.
Where are you getting like what Shakespeare?
I'm thinking of like Midsummer's Night Dream mixed with the idea of like there being players in the background of these stories guiding the narrative.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of imagining. Yeah.
Paris also, he dies in the story to arrows. They're like poison tipped arrows from Heracles, I think.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so not a very faithful movie.
But still a vibe.
But still a vibe, you know. I respect what it did. I think that they kind of went all out with the story that they had.
I really think like this story does show us that we do need to bring back crop tops for ripped men. I think that that's something like Dakota, get ready this summer. No dad bod for you. We got to get you in a crop top. You're going to grow out your hair. You're going to smudge a little dirt, little eyeliner.
No comment, guys. Let's...
Men in crop tops. It's what the world needs. It'll create
there is a craze sweeping MLB this year where gentlemen are taking their shirts off and spinning them over their heads like a helicopter in large swaths, like whole sections of stadiums.
Hasn't that like always been a thing?
In sports, but maybe not.
Not in baseball. Baseball's more of a gentleman's sport. We don't usually take our clothes off. That's more of a football.
Now people like chug beers out of their shoe and like
that's different. You know,
eat a hot dog and a beer burning.
We don't do that kind of stuff. But soccer would do it, like, you know. But they're doing it in MLB now, actually. So maybe it's the summer it's going to happen.
Yeah, you have to move through the crowds, Rich, and influence them. crop your shirts. You gotta bring like little mini scissors.
all right. So I'll tell you that like when I was going, you know, they do it at soccer games, and like it's the supporter section that does it, like the group of, you know, guys who sing and dance the entire game and chant. And we were always a section over or two, and I was always trying to get the older guys in the section. I was like, come on, let's go. Let's take our shirts off. But none of them would ever indulge me in said behavior. One time, one guy did say he'd do it, and I had my shirt almost off, but he had a shirt under his jersey, which was a trick move.
Oh, that's so offensive.
Dirty trick.
I always love looking at Anthony's face whenever Rich finds a really creative way to tie in baseball to anything that we talk about. Anthony just always looks like he isn't going to get this time back, and he doesn't understand why he agrees to do this every week. He just goes like, listeners cannot see it, but it's truly sad.
Oh man. Let's bring this pod to a close. Unless you guys have something else to bring up about the movie, what are your final thoughts? I'll start with Anthony.
Troy, it's a movie that I like. I will say it is maybe a little too long, but overall, like I'm not gonna hate the movie for it. Like I kind of agree with you, Dakota, when you said that it gets a little boring sometimes, but overall it's good. The siege of Troy, the Trojan Horse, like you said, the choreography, the effects, practical and CG, like it's all really, really good. I definitely recommend it. If you guys have made it to the end of this episode and have not watched it, go and watch it.
Rich?
All right, so we're rounding third and heading home with our final thoughts here. I forgot how much I really did like it. You know, I definitely saw it in theaters at least once. I think I probably saw it twice because I'm just thinking about the time period. So I was like 22 and not doing a lot of stuff. So this is definitely a movie I would have seen. And I when I watched it in preparation, like I had, like a lot of it came back to me, like my hatred of Paris and Helen, because the absence of Aphrodite here. I think, you know, it was a choice by the director, but I will say that, you know, it also, what I think is kind of cool is like it gives Paris some character growth here. You know, it gives Helen some character growth as well. You know, a little. I mean, I don't buy hers as much, but I feel like Paris has a little bit more. You know, he becomes more of a defender at the end when he says he won't leave his father's city. You know, that I thought that was really,
he gets some courage.
Yeah, he gets a little heroic there. You know, so you know, poor Hector though, man. Whew. Like that's kind of my final thought of this. Like, you know, he's dumb, but I mean, man, he's just, come on, like the breaker of horses. What happened here? But I do I recommend this movie. I mean, I think that if you have the time, I think that's the only thing is it's really a longish movie. You know, if there's a you could definitely scroll a little bit as you're going through some of it. You know, but I think it's definitely worth a watch. And if you're into like getting ready for the Odyssey, I think it's definitely something that you take a peek at, especially for the cast alone.
Jen?
When I was a little kid, I had a box of DVDs And this was one of the DVDs that I had. This was on my heavy rotation. And as I got older, I started to realize that a lot of the DVDs, like the movies that I had loved, were really poorly reviewed by critics and fans alike. And I remember being like really upset when I found out like, oh, nobody else liked this. Like, I didn't understand why, because I loved it as a kid. Another one that I really loved was Marie Antoinette, and that apparently, like, when they played it at the Cannes Film Festival, was booed by the French. They got up and booed it, like they hated it. And so it was really eye-opening seeing like especially historical fictions that I seem to gravitate towards, people just disliked. So I'm happy you guys all seem to enjoy it. When I suggested it, I was a little nervous, and I'm happy. For me, it was very nostalgic going back and watching this, seeing all these characters that I had just like watched a million times probably before. This was like my Lord of the Rings, actually. I hadn't seen Lord of the Rings until I was an adult, and I think that this was probably the closest thing to Lord of the Rings I had seen.
Definitely better than Lost in Translations.
That one everybody loved, actually. Like, some people say it's their favorite film, Rich.
I guess I'll go next. So, not a lot of humor, but a whole lot of Hector. So if you like Eric Bana, this is a good movie for you. No, big impressed with Brad Pitt, big unimpressed with Orlando Bloom, and moderately impressed with Eric Bana. So that's where I sit with the main actors of the Troy film. And I would say it's maybe like a top 5 X-Men movie for me.
The X-Men touch was that you didn't just MCU it. No, really nice. Loved it.
No, like Stryker was on top form.
We had a Bruce Banner cameo.
Bruce Banner cameo. We're bringing the whole party, the whole crew back for this one. No, I actually really enjoyed it. I really appreciated watching this film and experiencing something that when you see something at this scale that underperforms. I mean, it did well in the box office, but when it underperforms critically, that's got to hurt. And I kind of feel bad that this just went under the radar, because you could tell there was a lot of love that went into this. The set designs were insane. The costumes were crazy. The makeup was flawless. It was... I really enjoyed it. And to geek out about history a little bit before we go, the city of Troy was considered mythological for much of history. Like, most people did not believe that Troy was a real place until, like, I think the late 1800s, when they actually found the city of Troy beneath like 6 layers of civilization, basically, in a place in Turkey called Hisarlik. And so, yeah, Troy was a real location. We don't know if this story has any truth to it, like the Trojan Horse and like the Trojan and Sparta War. But if it did, there is a location where it would have happened. And that's pretty cool. It's cool enough for me. Guys, thank you so much for listening to us here for our 162nd episode. Be sure to leave a juicy 5-star review wherever you're listening to this podcast. And stay frosty, my friends.
Goodbye, y'all.
One thing I forgot to say is I liked when, like, the whole crew would show up dressed in blue. Like, everybody in Troy would be like, time to don our blue outfits to go hang out together.